Hello everyone and welcome back to another installation of And She Rants. Today I'm back and I'm talking about boundaries. Boundaries, back up off me. Okay, so I think this is a very important topic that we all kind of have conversations about. I'm going to tell you and plug therapy because therapy is probably the main place where you're going to be told to set boundaries in your life. But the reason that I decided to talk about this today was because I was listening to, I think it was Black Girl Podcast, and plug to Black Girl Podcast, particularly if you're a Black girl, but anyone, there are just so many breakthroughs that you hear 5 women supporting each other in the media space go through and like have those breakthroughs on the podcast. They're kind of amazing. They actually cause you to reflect on your life. Anyway, that's a plug, that's separate. Hey, BGP, love it. But someone was saying, I can't remember who it was, but she was saying that she felt like even though things were going okay, even though things were going well, she didn't really feel like she was in control of what was happening. It really resonated with me because over the past few months, I've kind of been feeling like, you know, what's happening and not really sure what's going on. I'm kind of just living my life. I'm kind of just allowing things to happen. I'm just going with the flow. And I think a lot of us do that right now, particularly millennials. We go with the flow. We let things happen. We follow jobs and we follow lovers and we follow opportunities and we're flexible. But are we too flexible? Having a conversation with my therapist, very weird to say that on camera because I'm like, who's watching this? And what kind of judgments do they have about therapy and things like that? But I'll just tell you right now that therapy is for everybody. Don't care if you feel like you don't have issues, like go. There was a breakthrough moment where it was the reason that I don't feel like I'm in control of my life is because I don't have any boundaries. None. You say we want to go left, sure, I'm gonna go left. Oh, you go right, okay, let's go right. All right, I'll follow the direction. You probably know better than I. And the truth is, nobody knows how to conduct or direct where your life is going better than you. There should be no other person that is directing how your life turns out other than you. You should be in the driver's seat and have control over what's going next. I'm a person of faith, so a lot of where I think the direction of my life is going is related to my relationship with God. But again, if I'm not plugged into certain spaces, if I'm not creating boundaries for myself to allow space for me to have that spiritual time to realize, oh, this is what's happening next, this is what's going, I'm still just going with the flow. And I'm still just allowing life to blow me wherever it goes instead of having control. So if this resonates with you, if you're someone who's like, I want to take control over my life, I don't want to just go with random decisions and let things happen, I'm going to talk about boundaries in 3 spaces of your life. The first place where I think it's important to create boundaries are in your workplace. Yeah, I said it, in your workplace, create boundaries. I think that's true from everyone from the CEO to whatever level 1 employees across a company. If you do not create boundaries early on, sis, bro, you in big trouble. But when I first started working at my job, I was very unnecessarily pressed to like do anything and everything, and not things that were asked of me. I was trying to go above and beyond, which I think is important. But if you do it to a consistent place where you're always inconveniencing yourself or putting yourself at a detriment, you will burn out, and you will have created a norm. So people will think she doesn't need rest. She doesn't need time to sleep. She doesn't need time off. She doesn't need to recharge. You need to be able to set boundaries of this is what I'm willing to do and this is where I'm trying to go, so you can build a career trajectory with your manager and the people who are over you to say, I don't want to just be the X task girl for the rest of my career. I want to also have new opportunities. So you set those boundaries early on. I think it's really important early on in your career when you're starting at a new job or whatever to set certain boundaries of maybe you're like a mom or you're a dad and you have a family and you need to go home at 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. I remember I was at someone's speech and she said that I go home every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Like she had to set that boundary for herself. Otherwise people will have an expectation. When you set boundaries, people are going to push them and they'll try to break them. So it's very important for you to say, no, this is a real boundary. You can't just push me out of that. I didn't just say this for kicks and for fun, but you really want me to do this thing, so I'm going to do it anyway. And that's something you have to be really conscious of. But in your career, you should set boundaries that are important, that help you abide to a certain career trajectory that sets you up to be successful within a certain timeline, so that you're at the steering wheel of where your career is going and what your life looks like. Consider making boundaries in your career. The second place where I think it's important to create boundaries is in your personal development. I always say, oh, hey, Olamide, I want to build this new skill. I want to learn this new thing. I want to learn how to make XYZ. I want to learn how to play the guitar. I want to learn how to, I don't know, learn a new language on the side that has nothing to do with my job. There are so many things that we say we want to do, and if you do not create boundaries for yourself, they will never get done. And what a sad thing that would be, that you spent your whole life sewing yourself into a career, sewing yourself into other people, and just letting your own personal development just fall to the wayside. Oh, I guess I didn't do it this year. I guess 2017 wasn't my year. 2018 will be. Oh, I guess 2018 wasn't my year. 2019 will be. First of all, tomorrow's not promised. Boop, sorry, but that's true. Unfortunately, we lose people all the time, and we realize that tomorrow is literally not promised. And the second thing is, if you continuously kick things to the curb, you procrastinate on the things that will develop you, you'll turn out years later and say, I could have been a star at XYZ if I had sown the time into that, if I had created the boundaries for myself to make sure that I made it happen. In our own personal lives, if there's something that you want to do, you have to create the space to actually start trying it. So one of the boundaries I try to create for myself in personal development is time. That may mean not going to things that I think would be fun and enjoying myself and living my best life, supposedly. Not going to activities and spending that time making a video or, figuring out what I'm gonna do for the next step of my career, creating that time map, like setting time in my calendar and saying, oh, I'm gonna work on this project from this time to that time. Time is precious. Your time is precious. And how much you invest into yourself will demonstrate how far you go in your personal development. So protect your time. I've literally stopped answering my phone after a certain time. Some people put their phone on do not disturb. There are various ways that you can do this, but time is a really important boundary, I think, when it relates to personal development. The third space in your life where I think it's important to create boundaries is around relationships. There, I said it. You need to create boundaries around relationships. Who are you talking to, Olamide? I'm talking to myself. It's one of the lessons I had to learn as an adult, and it's really uncomfortable for me. I think that throughout my life, both in friendships and in romantic relationships, I have struggled to create boundaries, and that has ultimately resulted in me either being a bad partner or being a bad friend to other people. I wasn't clear about who I am, what I need, and how I operate as a friend or as a partner. If you don't create boundaries in relationships, like, you're gonna hurt more than just yourself. You're hurting you, you're hurting the other person, you're hurting the relationship. Your boundaries around relationships actually stem from your values. I'm really trying to talk to myself right now because I have a hard time doing this, particularly when it comes to romantic relationships, because I think sometimes you just try to be open-minded and you're like, let me just, see what happens. Let me just see what happens. You never know who this person could be. And that is all fun and good. That was all fun and good in college. That was all fun and good in my early 20s too. But now I'm thinking about my future. And there are some things I just know have to be boundaries in terms of what it looks like to start getting to know someone and what boundaries I have to put in place so that I can protect myself and protect my heart. I want the people in my corner to be covering me, to be like praying for me, to be like in my corner, legitimately in my corner. If you don't create boundaries like that, you allow like people to come into your life and get close to your treasures, like your heart, like your struggles, like even your wins, and you may let people near that shouldn't be there. It's not everybody who gets to have the deepest part of you. It's not everybody that should. It's not everybody who gets to have access to your failures, your heartbreak, your hurt, all of that. It's not everybody. I think boundaries in personal relationships is an incredibly important part of being an adult, and learning to do that will be the difference between you having the same runaround. You ever realize like, oh, I have the same kind of relationship. Oh, like this guy's kind of different, but literally the same thing happened in this relationship. Oh, this friend is kind of different, but the same thing happened in the relationship. It will consistently happen until you create boundaries. Preach to yourself, girl, sis, girl, honey. Ooh, child. Sometimes we're afraid to create boundaries because we're worried of the relationships that we're going to lose. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will lose people. I'm sure you will lose opportunities. If you create boundaries, you will miss out on some things. But when you create a boundary, you realize that everything is not for you. Everybody is not for you. Every relationship's not for you. Every job's not for you. Every opportunity is not for you. When you have boundaries, you will be able to discern which one is. You don't just let yourself get thrown into whatever situation that it is. That means that you have refined your path and you're one step closer to getting to where exactly you're supposed to be. Like, comment, share with other people, talk to me. I want to talk to you about, what you think about boundaries. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I like to say that at the end. That's all for today. Bye, everyone.